Alright, this is my new brush hook. It's an Ochsenkopf, and I want to tell you a little bit about it. This is basically a review, and this is not the original handle, so I'm going to tell you about that too. So enjoy. Alright, so I picked up a new tool. This is an impulse purchase. I have been looking to getting basically a bill hook and a slasher. I saw this kind of splits the difference. On the label it is called a slashing hook. I think I would consider it a brush hook, but it's from Ochsenkopf, and I saw it in a hardware store. I had no idea you could even get these here in Canada, so I picked it up despite some misgivings. This is the price that I bought it for. It's a little dear. I mean, that's Canadian dollars, so it would be less if it was American. But one of the main things is like typical of hardware store cutting tools. It's not sharp, so you know it needs to be sharpened. But the larger concern I have is that it's not tight. So it's held in by a screw. But let's see, I wonder if you can see that. The handle is, fits quite loosely. So it's screwed into place, but it jiggles. I don't know if that's gonna make it impossible to use. I kind of doubt it, but I think it'll make it annoying. So at some point, I would like to address that. So I think what I'm gonna do is sharpen it up and then not do anything else to it. Just try it, and then I'll try and tighten up the handle and see, how that goes basically, because there's a huge gap. So I think if I remove the screw and then drive the handle on, I might actually end up with a pretty short handle. So we'll see. I can make a new handle. I shouldn't really have to do that, but I'll just see. I'll play around with it and see if I can get it to my liking. But yeah, this is this is the one-handed version. That's what Ochsenkopf says it's for. On their website there is a two-handed version with a longer handle. I haven't seen that one, but I hope this is going to be useful, or at least that I can make it useful. So we'll see. So it comes with a sheath, and it's good. That's good that it does. Once it's sharp, this will be pretty dangerous. It'll be sharp on two sides. So it's good that it comes with a sheath. The sheath, I gotta say, it's cheap. And I guess that's not surprising. It's a hardware store tool, but I do wish it's a little better, but it will work for now. Maybe it's a little bit of, you get what you pay for, and you're not paying for a sheath, but it comes with, and I'm glad it does. So I'm going to give my Ochsenkopf brush hook a try. I've sharpened it up. So It's not razor sharp or anything, but it's pretty sharp. And what I'm going to try and do is I've got this clump of ash that's died, and I'm going to try and clear a path, get to them so that I can fall them safely this way. And see how well this thing works. Okay. So most of what I'm cutting today is European buckthorn. It's an invasive species, and so it's good to control it anyway. I would like to replace it with other trees and shrubs, other vegetation, and it's pretty tough stuff. It's thorny, and the wood is actually quite hard. Okay. So that might be a bit thick for this. It works. Just takes a couple whacks. Maybe if I use the other side. So it seems like, you know, it's a fair amount of work once you get to stuff that's maybe thumb size, at least if it's a hard, tough shrub or small tree. Smaller stuff takes care of pretty easily. So this is a basswood branch, and it cuts through that like butter. Like nothing. So yeah, so that's again thumb size, but easy to cut through. So I guess it just does make a difference how tough the wood is. So that's dead buckthorn. It's dry, very hard. Don't really notice any edge damage, so that's good. Not really what this thing is made for, but it does work. Pretty well for that. I've cleared a bunch of the buckthorn. Now I've got prickly ash, and I think this will be a more flattering test. I mean, it's pretty miserable. It's very thorny. I actually don't like to cut it, not because it's hard, but I actually kind of like the plant as long as I don't have to walk through it, because it's smells nice and it's food for our largest butterfly, which is a giant swallowtail. So, but it'll just grow right back. It grows in like canes like this and thickets, and yeah, it's, I know from personal experience that you cut it down and it just comes right back up. So I'm going to take all of the prickly ash in my way, and I think that will show off the brush hook to a little bit more flattering effect. So if you don't have anything too hard, thumb size is pretty easy with one whack. So that's a pretty thick piece. It's about 1 inch. Took a couple whacks, but it came off. Alright, I think that's going to be enough for tonight. It's getting dark. I hear the woodcock painting. So, this evening. I think this worked pretty well. I mean, it seems to hold an edge. You know, the buckthorn is tough stuff. Nothing you can do about that. Prickly ash is tricky to handle, but I don't think I've seen a tool that's better than this. I haven't used a lot of brush hooks, or really any brush hooks or bill hooks before, but this is useful. So the looseness of the handle, to be honest, didn't really bother me that much. So yeah, I'm glad I got it. No buyer's remorse. Yeah, definitely good to have something like this around, especially if you are dealing with a lot of brush like I do. So there you go. Well, I'm gonna have to amend my review. Fortunately, I haven't edited it together yet because I was just clearing a trail and this happened. So looks like the screw broke off and the head just went flying. Let's go find it. There it is. There's the head. Okay. There's the handle. Let's see. Now, you don't see the screw. It looks like there's a piece in there. So I think the screw broke. There it is. All right, what do we got? Yeah, if it would focus, broken screw. So this thing's very sharp. In fact, I just sharpened it again and it just went flying. So that's not very safe. Don't know. Yeah, that's that's too bad. So thumbs down for you know, having a tool, $100, $120 Canadian tool that lasted for about a day and a half of use, and it was not safe. So the old handle was going to be, I think, too short for what I wanted if I did drive it in far enough and shape it to actually fit into the socket. So I made a new handle. This handle is kind of an experiment. I wanted to try buckthorn. I had a little bit drying. This isn't the nicest piece, but I wanted to see how it would work as a user handle on a cutting tool. here it is. It's very difficult to find a big piece of buckthorn, and it's also very difficult to dry. So, you know, this has some drying checks in it that I wasn't able to work out, and it had a big check here by this knot in the palm swell, and that was going to give me slivers. So I just chipped it out, and that's fine for user handle. You know, this is just mostly to see if it's strong, but I do really like the look of this wood. This buckthorn wood is very interesting. It takes a nice, like a polish. It almost has like a luminous quality. It's got like a sheen to it. The grain is very interesting. It's very prominent. It's got lots of interesting colors. Yeah, so yep, this is just a user handle, but before I get it all grimy and dirty, I thought I'd just show off what the wood looks like. And if this turns out to be strong enough, then I think I'll try and handle an axe with it, maybe a boy's axe or something. You know, there's no big pieces of buckthorn that I can get, but I do have a couple drying that will probably be big enough to make a boy's axe handle, I hope. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it holds up as a tool handle. So this is a sneaky one. I thought this was buckthorn. It looks a lot like a buckthorn. It's actually wild plum, Canada plum. I would rather have that than buckthorn. So since it's a buckthorn competitor, I'm going to leave it. I think it'll be out of the way enough. And hopefully when the brush comes back, more of it will be plum and less of it will be buckthorn. Alright, so the new handle worked out well. It's held up and it's comfortable and it's long enough. The only issue with it is that this buckthorn wood is so smooth that it's actually kind of slippery. When I had the gloves on, I had a hard time keeping hold of it. So it actually came out of my hand at one point. So I think I might have to, kind of spoil the look and put some hockey tape on it, which is fine because this is a user tool. Overall, I am glad I've got it. A brush hook like this is really handy for the kinds of things that I do, for clearing brush, for like limbing small trees. It allows me to cut things closer to the ground, but it's high enough that I can cut things further up. So yeah, very, very handy. I'm glad I got it. I do think it should have come ready to use, and I'm really disappointed in the fact that wasn't the case. I understand, why they don't come sharp because of like issues with shipping and being in a store and everything. But I don't understand why they come with loose handles. I looked into it a little bit more. I found some Amazon reviews. Lots of other people have had the same problem. As I mentioned, when I went to the store, there was 8 or 9. They all had just as loose handles. I thought maybe it was because they were shipped separately to North America. They were imported separately, and then the handles and the heads were mated together incorrectly. But there's some Amazon reviews in German that seem to show the same problem. So some people have said that the heads, they've got them fitted correctly, but it seems like the issue with very, very loose heads is pretty widespread. And what I would recommend is if you're going to buy one of these, just assume that you're getting a handle and a head and that you're going to have to do the fitting yourself. And so what I would do is exactly that. I would take out the screw, drive the handle on, pull it out a few times, taking down the high spots that you can see where it rubs until you've got like a secure fit, and then putting the screw in again. Right away, don't try to use it, because I should have seen this coming with just the screw, taking all the force and it moving a lot. Of course it's going to fail. So I'm glad I'm not the only one that happened to, but I still feel a little silly that that I even bothered to see. So yeah, I should have addressed that right away. The issue with the handles being a bit short, once that's done, I didn't actually try that, but I suspect that's the case, so that's why I fitted just a new handle, which is longer and is about the right length. It's just a little longer than maybe an inch or two, between an inch and 3 inches, maybe. So like 2 to 6 centimeters longer than what it comes with, and that seems to be pretty good. It's still nice and maneuverable. So one thing that I forgot to mention is that the sheath that came with, once I've had this sharpened and I've carried it around a bit, maybe, of course, it's cut through. So it's cut through the stitches because this is sharp, and I can fix that. All it needs is for another rivet to be added here. I think that this should have just come with a rivet to keep it together, because obviously that's something that's going to happen, and it did. So I could fix it myself, but that's another thing that I think Ochsenkopf could easily improve, should improve, to make this sheath functional, and I don't think it would add much expense. So they should do that. Yeah. So if you're like me and you have a hard time finding any sort of brush hooks or bill hooks, this is a good option, and it might be your only option. So for that reason, for people in that situation, I would recommend it, as long as you know what you're getting into. But if you do, this is a great thing to have. I wonder if that got cut off. I got a scratched face and